Hello everyone, welcome to the Trash Talk channel. I've got a fun one for you today. This is a $500 entry, 9-cat head-to-head auction draft. This is a real draft. This is my third draft, but the other ones were many teams, a 16-team and a 20-team, so those wouldn't have been so interesting to you guys. But I think a regular 9-cat head-to-head auction draft will be fun. I get to nominate first. That was just random. So we're going to throw my guy Anthony Edwards in here for 30 bucks. This league has 4 IL plus slots, which is definitely not usual for regular Yahoo leagues. So it does change the strategy a little bit. You also have 14 players instead of 13 players. And it's not a 2-center league. It's just a 1-center league. So those are the differences between the regular Yahoo settings. Apart from that, it's basically regular league. Playoffs are finishing on March 30th, which is an important thing to know about your team, about your league settings. You got to know when your playoffs are. So I nominated Anthony Edwards. He looks like he's gonna, oh, never mind. Classic bidding with 1 second left. Gotta love it. So I don't really have a strategy going into this one. A lot of people, I don't know if a lot of people, some people from these leagues actually watch my videos. So I got to be careful with what I'm saying. If you guys are watching and you're in one of my leagues after this, just know that I know you're watching. So playing a little game there. Amin Thompson is a really early nomination, and I'll be happy of getting him for even $5. That's probably the most I'll go for this one just because it's early. I don't usually draft somebody for cheap early in the draft, but I would have been pretty happy with that. But we'll let him go first. That's always a fun thing in auctions. You have no idea what's going to happen. You don't know who's going to be nominated first. Sometimes Jokic gets nominated first. Sometimes Amin Thompson gets nominated second. And now when you have a $6 player, it changes the way you approach the rest of the draft, because now you know you got somebody in there cheap. You can afford to spend a little bit more money on the rest of the draft. Now this Jokic bid probably sets the tone for the rest of these high price guys. I'm definitely willing to go over 70 for Jokic this year. This is fun. 75 for Jokic, 74. I mean, that seems pretty solid. So Andrew already has 2 players out of 3. He goes with Jokic and Amin Thompson, and that allows him to kind of approach the draft however he wants. Jokic allows you to build whatever team you want. Amin Thompson is kind of a punt points threes type of player, but not necessarily. So he's kind of got an opportunity for a punt, but can also shift to however he wants to do it. In a league with 4 IL plus slots, Embiid is a little bit more intriguing. Guys like that, you know, the Jimmy Butlers of the world, the Kawhis, the Kyries, Embiid, those guys probably get boosted up a little bit in value just because of that, but you can only have so many on your team. You know, there's that game you can play with the IL plus where you can have like an extra 1 or 2 players on your roster and you're churning them in and out, but you can only do that so much. This league has 5 ads per week instead of 4, which does allow you to do that a little bit more. But for the most part, you can only do it 5 times, right? Like it doesn't give you that massive advantage that people really think. So it does boost these guys up a little bit, but you know, maybe Embiid should be a $40 player and now he's 46. I'm just making up numbers. I don't know. But Embiid goes for 46, which is almost $30 less than Jokic. That is quite a big difference. And then generally in mocks, I've been seeing Wemby and Jokic go for about the same. So we'll see if that is what happens here. Almost got Wemby there for 67. I think at 69, I'm good. If somebody goes for 70, they can have him. Almost got Wemby for 67. Almost got Wemby for 69. And we're going to let him go for 70. Seems like a pretty good price, but it does limit the way you can build your team. I've found that auction drafts tend to go this way, but not always. Jokic goes for 74. Wemby goes for 70. Means Luka's probably going to go for around 60 would be my guess. But sometimes Luka goes for just as much as Wemby, and sometimes he goes for way less. People are a little bit worried about Luka's 2-game playoff week, but that's in the semifinals, and there's certainly ways to build your team around it so that you're okay. You know, you've got, okay, so if you look at the top guys, you have Jokic and Davis both have 3-game weeks in the playoffs. SJ has 2 3-game weeks. Looking through it here. Curry has 2 3-game weeks. Chet has 2 3-game weeks, so I don't really see why it's that big of an issue. Luka goes for 58, which I would say seems kind of on the cheap side, considering Jokic went for 74. Am I going to get Kawhi for 24? No. People really like to wait until the last. I don't really know why. Kawhi, I'm going to try 26 and let him go after that. So Kawhi goes for very cheap, 26. And then it'll be fun to see who else goes for that range and whether I really got a steal. I mean, would you rather have 2 Kawhis or Luka? I don't know. And Kawhi for 26 allows me to still build my team however I want. Kawhi's awesome at everything in fantasy. And without Paul George, when he plays, he should be awesome. This could be a case of me getting somebody cheap at this point because it's a week, it's like 10 days before the season starts, and we'll find out that Kawhi is actually good to go 2 weeks into the season, and he plays 60 games. It could totally go the other way, but for 26, I'm willing to take the risk. So Ilias takes Giannis, which is always kind of a flashpoint in a draft. You know which team is very likely punting free throws. He went for SGA for 55. That didn't work. SGA goes for 56. And it does seem like guys are kind of going on the cheaper end, in my opinion, in this draft. I would also like to get Jimmy, but having Jimmy and Kawhi definitely seems too risky for me at this point in the draft. Kawhi allows me to maybe punt points. He was pretty awesome in punt points build last year. Well, he's pretty awesome in every build. Interesting. So Jimmy going very similar to Kawhi. It makes me like my Kawhi buy much better. Cool. Guys are going for relatively cheap here now, and I think I'm going to have to jump in on somebody who I like here. Davis goes for 48, and now we're back to me here. Let's go with De'Aaron Fox, knowing that Ilias has Giannis. Fox is a very common pairing with Giannis, and I like to see what happens to the Giannis team and what kind of prices they get early, because it's really the only team that we know for sure the type of players who he's going for. He lost. Ilias leaves the draft. Maybe his internet messed up, but he left the draft while he was bidding for a player who he wanted, and Pure Splash gets him for 31, Fox Edwards combo. Now Halliburton is definitely somebody who fits really well with Kawhi. I could do a punt assist with Kawhi. That's definitely an option. But punt points is just, in my eyes, it's much more attractive with Kawhi. And Halliburton is a really good option for that build. 46 still feels cheap. These guys, I mean, comparing them to the other guys, it might not be that cheap. You know, Davis goes for 48. Halliburton also goes for 48. But compared to the rest of this draft, this feels pretty cheap. I'm going to let him go for 49. I would have liked to have Halliburton here, but 49 feels like, 50 feels like a little too much. I don't know, man. There's no way to know here. Hope you guys are enjoying my content leading up to draft season, or, you know, within draft season even. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Bringing you guys pretty rare content, I think. How many of you guys get to watch real big money auction drafts? I don't know if anybody else is doing this. So we got our niche covered up in this YouTube space. So we've got a team that's starting to flesh out here. Jimmy Butler, Towns, and Tatum. Mamba's a pretty good player. He plays in a lot of leagues, and he's generally the guy who names his team Jimmy, Cat, Tatum, to tell everybody who, I guess to not tell everybody, so that he knows who's on that team while he's looking through his 30 teams or whatever. The guys who play in these leagues really play in a lot of leagues. I kind of see the same guys in many of them. But over the years, I haven't really seen that much of a draft strategy for anybody in particular. Can't quite figure it out. So we've got a Curry and Wemby team, which happened actually in my first draft a couple nights ago. But that guy also ended up drafting Jokic and then used all his money and then left the draft because he had no more money to spend, and then showed up later. I think maybe he didn't even show up later, but he kind of messed with his whole draft. Guys are flying off the board here. Reign of Terror has Giannis and Scotty Barnes. That's a pretty fun combo. I think I'm going to have to grab one of these next like top 10, or one of the next like 10 best guys. I think I just need to pair Kawhi with somebody, with one of these guys. So I'm going to find one of the, not speaking very well. I'm going to find where I see value, and I'm going to pounce on it in one of these next like 10 guys or so. You guys are looking at the presenter page, so you can't really see, but I'm looking at a list of like Trae Young, Sabonis, Harden, Chet, Booker, Brunson, Şengün, Donovan Mitchell, LeBron, Durant, Dame, those kind of guys. So Zion is a prime target of that punt free throw team. John, wonderful team, is also potentially a punt free throw team with Luka and Paolo. Doesn't necessarily have to, but can. So Zion is probably a pretty good target for him too. But it looks like Ilias is going hard for Zion. Probably pump him up a little bit more. I'd also happily take Zion for 13. There we go. Pumping him up. All right, so we made him pay $4 more. Still a pretty good price for Zion. No, never mind. So the other, no. Maybe we have 3 punt free throw teams? That's it. What is with these last second bids, man? People really like to have fun with that, huh? So I got Brunson. Nope. All right, we're going to let him go. Brunson goes for 30. Seems like a pretty good deal. Nope, never mind. Everybody's bidding with 1 second left. I don't know why that bothers me. It shouldn't. That's why we have 10 seconds. Okay, so Brunson goes for 32, and now we just have 1 team left who has no more guys. Brunson goes for 32. This is not a good way to look at it, but if Brunson goes for 32, Trae Young should go for like 35 maybe. Maybe that's what everyone else is thinking as well. Kevin has Embiid. He's going to potentially... Nope. Right, I got to stop talking early because I'm not calling it right. So we're bidding for Sabonis here. I'm going to go 36 against the team that hasn't drafted anybody yet. He goes 37. Seems like a pretty good deal for Sabonis. He's really good in head-to-head. He forces you to build your team a certain way, but that way is pretty good. The team with Luka and Paolo gets Sabonis. That is a really interesting team. So we'll see if we get Harden. I don't know if I want to have Harden and Kawhi, but it's kind of a handcuff in a way. Harden for 35 still seems like a good deal. So I'm going to go after it. If he goes 1 more, yeah, I'll let him take him for 36. There he goes for 37. But I'm running out of options here of these top guys. Well, there's still probably 7 or 8 left. So this is a player I'm really interested in seeing what he goes for in these high stakes drafts because he's been going for a lot in auctions. I always get that mixed up. He's been going for a lot in mocks, and he's also gone for a lot in my other 2 auctions. So seeing how pumped up he gets, it's going to be interesting to me. Or maybe I'm going to get him. 28 seems very reasonable for J-Dub. There we go. So I think this is going to become... it doesn't have to be a punt points team. Kawhi and J-Dub doesn't really have to be a punt assist team. Kind of building one of my classic across-the-board talented teams. 9-cat monster. I don't know. We'll see. 28 for J-Dub seems right on the money. I wouldn't say I necessarily got a good deal. I wouldn't say I necessarily got a bad deal. Kuminga goes for 7. Nothing really to see there. I mean, maybe Kuminga ends up being a pretty good steal. I don't know. Are we going to go for the all-risky team here? LaMelo at 31. He gets bumped up to 32. It's just a lot to pay for somebody who keeps missing all these games. And I know I did the same thing with Kawhi, but Kawhi's upside is probably even higher than LaMelo's, so I don't know. 37 for LaMelo. That's a LaMelo and Halliburton team. That is fun. If those guys are healthy, that team is going to be pretty awesome. So the big-time assist guys are all off the board, except for Van Vliet, I guess LeBron. So Van Vliet, LeBron, and then like late round assist specialists, like your Chris Pauls or Tyus Jones. I always forget about Cade. Cade's there too. Hey, Cade. So there's still potential to get assists. It's the category to me that seems to disappear the fastest. Points is another one there, but really assists are the one that just disappear really fast. But we still have a few guys. I mean, Donovan Mitchell averaged 5 last year, something like that, 6. Booker averaged like 6. Dame averaged 7. Maxey averaged like 6 or so not so bad. For some reason, the last year's average stats on... I got kicked out. Average stats on... I don't know why. Booker goes for 33. Seems like pretty good value. So there's one team here who only has Brunson. There are multiple teams that have 2 players left. There's really potentially 3 teams who are punting free throws. This Luka Sabonis team, the Giannis Scotty Barnes Şengün team. Şengün goes for 30. And I think one of those teams has to go for John Morant here, right? Ilias pumps him up to 21. The Zion Fox team, he might be punting free throws too. So there should be a fight for John Morant here, I would think. But he's just not that great of a 9-cat player. So for like $20, fine. All right, here we go. I don't think I necessarily need Chet on this team. I think if I want to compete in blocks, he's a really good option. I don't necessarily think I need him to compete in blocks, but Chet's probably like a $35-ish player based on the valuations here so far. Looks like Mamba really wants him, or he just wants to pump him up. Wait until the last second, huh? Chet going at 31. I'll definitely take him at 31. If he goes up to 32, all right, I don't know why that felt like a steal. I got him for 25 in a draft last year, and it felt like a steal. And if he just does what he did last year, 31 is a really good deal. So I'm really liking this team so far. And Ilias agrees. Hey, Ilias, if you're watching this, there you are. So I do think this team is turning into a punt, which means I'm gonna need somebody. Probably, I feel like I need one more guy who's going to crush free throw percentage for me and get a lot of threes. So that would be like Dame, Donovan Mitchell, Tyrese Maxey, maybe Cade, Fred VanVleet, those type of guys. And then I need to go big and get like a Jared Allen to really crush that field goal. Somebody like DeMar DeRozan would be really awesome. Hartenstein kind of is a must in a punt points, but then I have Hartenstein and J-Dub and Chet, whatever. Doesn't really matter. I can call my team the Thunder. Brooke Lopez is always an option. Could go get Porzingis late. So it looks like that's what we're looking at here. I don't know if that's the route we're going to have to take, but I'm liking what I'm seeing so far. I almost went for LeBron for 28 there, and then waltzing Missoula goes for it. Back to Ryan. Harden, Booker, LeBron. That's a fun one. All right, so it's my go here. I'm going to nominate somebody who doesn't really fit my build. Let somebody else pay 17 for Jaylen Brown or whatever it's going to be. Okay, Elias seems to feel like he needs Jaylen Brown here. He's got an interesting build because he's getting assists out of positions that don't typically get you assists. So he really just can go grab one like guard who gets him assists, and it's looking pretty good. Team now with 6 players. He gets Jaylen Brown. So there really are, it looks like 3 teams punting free throw, which in some ways means that I don't have to be that great at free throw, right? I can just be good and I'll crush all those. Hartenstein going for 10. Look at that. Wow. He's a pretty epic punt points guy. If you're not punting points, it is tough because he averaged like 8 points a game. Maybe he'll average more under. So he might just get more open shots, but really, really, really low scoring. Okay, so here's one of the guys who I was talking about. Dame in the mocks that I was doing was going for like 35. And then I started to see him go a little bit cheaper. See if we can get him in the low 30s. 34 is, oh, all right. I'm going to let him go for 35. East from the East. Halliburton, LaMelo, and Dame. Is that Rain? Did Rain just become Henry? What's happening here? So that's a centerless build if I've ever seen one. So DeJounte actually has horrible fantasy playoff schedule. The Pelicans do a 2-4-3. I was talking about the Luka one, but at least he's got 2 4s in there. DeJounte has a 2 and a 3. So that's probably the worst playoff schedule. And this league pays out for the playoff. So it makes Kawhi a fun one. It's also what makes somebody like Vassell an interesting pick. With all those IL spots, if he comes back, even if he comes back in like December, if he's just playing in the fantasy playoffs, $4, he's a steal, or $5. Probably even up to $10, he's a steal. So I'm looking at, I've got 3 players and I've got the most money. There's a team that has 2 players and has less money, and then a few other teams that have 3 and have a decent amount less money. So on average, I have the most money to spend, which probably means I have to go, I don't have to, but I should go get one more of these big name guys who are left. Mitchell is an option here. I think I'll even go up to 40 for Mitchell. Right here, it probably takes away my team's ability to be a punt points, but what happens? 39. I'm going to go one more. It's a few extra dollars more than I wanted to spend, but I'm going to take Mitchell for 39. It makes me no longer the big stack here, but a quad of Mitchell, Kawhi, J-Dub, and Chet is looking pretty awesome. Mitchell's combination of free throws, field goal, and steals is really attractive in that spot. So I probably ended up paying like $3 more than I wanted to there, considering, well, Steph went for 37, so just a little bit more than Steph. Ball went for 37. Harden went for 38. So it's right about where you would expect. All these guys going within that like $5 range. And those $5 can make a big difference at the end. Or maybe they don't. Some people end up with $4 left in the draft. We'll see. Cade had an awesome game yesterday in preseason. And I feel like these guys are paying attention to that, and that might bump his price up a little bit higher. He's probably like a $25 player or so. He would be an excellent grab at $14 or at $16. They probably should go more, but I'm going to let him go. Let's look through these teams again here. We have that Embiid Trey team. Hasn't done much since then. That seems fine. The Jokic Kyrie team, same thing. This Butler Towns Tatum Randall team, I guess, is a punt assist. Should be pretty solid as a punt assist team. Probably need some blocks though. Halliburton, LaMelo, Dame, and Vassell. Vassell doesn't seem like a rain pick, but he does have small forward eligibility. Harden, Booker, LeBron, and Markkanen is pretty solid. That's a fun one. It's going to be a lot of scoring, a lot of assists with good field goal percentage, good threes, good free throw. Yeah, that's probably my favorite team so far. Fred VanVleet, his value in mocks, in auction mocks, was all over the place. I got him for like 25 once, and I saw him go for over 40. So I have no idea what he's going to go for here. I have the high bin here at 27. I'll probably stop at 30. Yeah, I would have liked to have him at 30. 32 seems a little bit rich, but it would have really shored up my assists. Interesting that Cade goes for 19, VanVleet goes for 31. The main difference is really the steals between them, D stats, but Cade has the potential for those D stats, so I don't know, that's interesting. Gobert goes for 16 to the team with no guards. How interesting. Bias is probably a $15 to $18 player here. I would not mind getting him for 15. Let him go at 16. To Kevin, who now has VanVleet, Trae Young, Tobe, and Joel Embiid. How interesting. Anybody know what that team is? I really don't know. Mobley for 25 felt solid. I'm going to go up one more to 27. I just think there's still massive potential there. And a Mobley-Chet combo sounds really fun. 29. It's just so much more of my budget, so I'm going to let him go. Waltzing Missoula's picks up Evan Mobley for a pretty decent price, 28. Same thing that I paid for J-Dub. I don't know. Seem like pretty similar values in the fantasy. Seems fine to me. Still don't really have a punt here. This might end up being a punt. No, it's not really a punt rebounds team because I should be pretty good at rebounds. I don't know. This team doesn't have a punt right now. Kind of ends up being how I draft. Generally, I just go and look for the value where I see it. This is where I found the value in this draft. There definitely is something to be said for having players on good basketball teams on your fantasy. And I'm pretty sure the Thunder are going to be good. They're projected to win the second most games in the NBA this season. I'm pretty sure the Cavs are going to be good unless Mitchell goes down for an extended period of time, and that just screws my fantasy team anyway. So that's totally fine. And then Kawhi is kind of a wild card, but paying 26 for somebody who really does have the potential to be in the same level of player as like SGA, who went for 56, Luka, who went for 58, better than Giannis, who went for 50, even if you're punting. So that's what this team is looking like. Jared Allen's one of those guys who just kind of has really good value. He maintains his value. He's a big rebound, field goal, not so many blocks guy, but I'm okay with that because I already have Chet. So now we're gonna have two Cleveland guys. I like that they have a new coach in Kenny Atkinson, and they're going to be playing a little bit differently. They might be managing minutes better. So my Jared Allen as my fifth player here does hurt my threes a little bit, but now I'm going to be a good rebounding team as long as Allen's playing. I'm going to be a good field goal percentage team, but I'm also going to score a lot. Team's going to shoot threes. This team is really nasty, and I really have enough money here to go after one more guy in like that $20 range. So I just got Allen for 18. Somebody from like 18 to 22, if I can get one of these guys who I see in that range, if I can get one more of them on this team and then try to find value late, that's probably where this draft is headed for me. So Garland goes for 14. That seems right on the money. Somebody else says that was a great deal. Kevin's team, I don't know. So J-Dub went for 28. Jalen Williams, who's not, wait, that's Jalen Williams. Jalen Johnson, the other Jalen, is somebody else I'm intrigued to see what he goes for in this competitive league. I've seen him go in the 30s, like high 20s, early 30s in mock. So see what happens. People tend to like J-Dub and Jalen Johnson. Draft both of them. I wouldn't mind getting Jalen Johnson for somewhere in the 20s. Like 20, if I get him for like 25, I would do that. If he goes for somewhere in the 30s, at this point in the draft, that's a lot. I don't know if anybody else is going to be willing to spend that. So we shall see. Walker Kessler 2 weeks ago would have been like a $2 player, but because he's slated as the starter, people are all over it. I was all over him last year, and I was early. He feels like the type of player who's a post-hype sleeper, but going for $15, that's no longer a sleeper. I mean, I got Jared Allen for 18. Kessler probably has more upside than Allen, but Allen has a much higher floor, so probably rather have Allen. But this is a pretty massive boost for Walker Kessler, huh? $18 Walker. Wow. I'm gonna drop down the board here and give everybody a chance to get OG. So far, my team is looking like field goal percentage monster with like just enough points and threes. Pretty good rebounding team, decent enough steals team, very good free throw percentage team, and a bad assist team. So I think from here on out, I'm going to have to treat this as a punt assist unless I really go after assists with the rest of my money. Those are the only two options. I either got to not care about it or go after it hard. Going after it hard would definitely include getting somebody like Tyus Jones and or Chris Paul late. It would probably mean that I have to get somebody like Derek White quickly, Jamal Murray or DeRozan, or even Josh Giddey coming up here, or Brandon Ingram, I guess. Paying for 21. And then if I'm going to punt assist, turn this spreadsheet around and go with a punt assist and punt turnover. See what we got left. It's going to be Biggs with Derek White and Jalen Johnson. Speaking of Jalen Johnson, let's see what happens. Bane went for 21, which means Johnson probably like 25, be my guess here. I could double up the Jalen's. Wow, so I guess 25. Chance here to get him for 18. All right, twice. With 1 second left, you guys, no fun. I think I'm gonna have to let him go. I know I said 25, but feels like a good deal. But there are more players who I want in this range. I think at this point, I'd be happy with Derek White and DeMar. 25 is probably too much, but that's what I'm going to go for here. If he goes more, you can have him. That's the Wemby Curry team getting his third player. How exciting. Going for Derek White. An interesting fit with Wemby and Curry. Always with those last second bid ups, huh? Rosen for 17 feels pretty awesome. Big fan. Okay, Brandon Ingram, somebody I don't want, and he is maybe going to go for 5. There we go. So the Wemby team got Derek White and Daniel Gafford. So he's probably going to crush everybody in blocks despite having Steph Curry. I have Chet, but I just don't have another big shot blocker to compete with that. So that'll be the number 1 blocks team. Marcus Smart going for $8. That is very surprising based on the players who are left. Wow. Jamal Murray is probably, I don't know, definitely over 20 if he goes earlier in the draft. At this point, people won't have a lot of money left. If I get him for 15, I won't have a lot of money left. Pretty good deal. Jamal Murray for 15. I could have gone 16, but then I'm looking at $25 for 7 players, which is basically 3.5 per player. Wow, so Brook Lopez is somebody who would really fit this build, but he goes for much more expensive than I was expecting. And maybe that's going to be something that happens in these competitive leagues. He tends to end up having more value than he goes in these drafts anyway. And I could have used his threes and blocks, but I'm going to look around elsewhere because his rebounding is going to be an issue. And my team is starting to fall behind in rebounds despite being a punt assist team. So I'm going to have to try and fight that a little bit. I'm basically right now, I'm a good field goal, free throw, turnover, steals, blocks, and points team. And what I need to figure out here is, do I attack points and threes, or do I go more after rebounding and block? Points and threes tend to correlate with assists, but there are a few guys who kind of go against that. Michael Porter Jr., Keegan Murray, Trey Murphy. So those are the guys I'm looking at here. I think if I can get Zubats, Murphy, and Porter, that's probably the trio that I'm willing to spend on. We'll see if I can do it. Keegan Murray's also an option. Simons is kind of an option. He will really help in threes, points, but he just gets no rebounds and no defensive stats. And then it'll just be interesting to see where Porzingis goes. I know I already have Kawhi. Mitchell tends to be kind of a health risk, but we really don't know. And Porzingis, we do know because he's already injured. I'm curious to see where he ends up going. I bid $6 for Porzingis. He's now at $7. Fits my build so well. So I'm going to go up to 8, bid up to 9. Probably. I don't think I can pay $10 for somebody who might miss half the season. So I'm going to let him go. All right, so my plan is still in motion here. Porter, Zubats, maybe Keegan Murray as well. Herb Jones is somebody I'm looking at. Nas Reed is somebody that I'm looking at here. And then maybe a big time flyer. And we are drafting 168 players. We're at 104 out of 168. So D'Angelo Russell does not fit this build, but he is crazy value at $4. So he's crazy value at $6. So if I end up getting him, he's a points, threes, and assists guy, right? But I'm punting assists, but he's going to really help me in points and threes and free throw. He's not going to crush my turnovers or my field goal. So I would have liked him at 6. He goes for 8. That's a pretty good deal. Ryan still has an average of $4 per player. 3 players left. Michael Porter. This is somebody I really want at this spot. 9 feels like a nice little bargain. We get him for 9. Puts us right on track here for maybe also getting Keegan Murray, so I can have Porter and Murray. And then I probably want 2 bigs. So like Zubats and Nas Reed are probably the bigs with the most upside, I think, left for this build. Nas Reed does have a 3-3-3 playoffs, though. So I probably prefer Zubats, and then maybe we can go get Trey Murphy. With the amount of money that I have left, I do have to draft 7 more players. And my average is not that much more than everybody else, but with the amount of money that I have left, I can go after kind of who I want at this point. So I think 3 guys, Keegan, Zubats, and despite the bad playoff schedule, Herb Jones, I'm not sure it gives me enough 3-point shooting, but it definitely gives me enough rebounding. Oh, I forgot about Trey Murphy. No, it's Trey Murphy instead of Herb Jones. All right, so here's Zubats. I'm going to go all the way up to 12 here, maybe even more. I kind of need him at this point. In the late game is where you win, right? This would leave me with $20 left. Probably want to have 2 real flyers at the end. So leave with $18 left. I think this is probably all I can spend. If he goes up 1 more, I'm done. All right, we get Zoo. Now we're going to be a pretty sick rebounding team and not a very good 3-point shooting team. But this is somebody who would help with the 3-point shooting. Dante DiVincenzo. Just, I don't know if he's going to get enough playing time, so I'm going to let him go. Pure Splash really wanted Zubats, huh? Kind of is the last big left in that tier. And then you're getting into like the Nas Reed, Zach Edey, I guess John Collins tier of center. So it made sense that he went for a little bit too expensive. But if we look through the other bigs in that range, Brook Lopez goes for 13. Who are the other bigs in that range? Kessler went for 18. Porzingis went for 9. Keegan is somebody I wanted, but for $9, it's a little. Going back to that, Duran went for 14. Zubats went for 14. So that's actually not such good value. Jared Allen went for 18. Rudy Gobert went for 16. I don't know. It was probably an overpay, but at this point in the draft, it doesn't matter all that much. Or maybe it does. We'll see. It does bring my average down to 3 and doesn't really allow me to get all the guys I want. Still a little bit frustrated. I was having a pretty good draft up until then. Can't beat yourself up too much about it. So if I can get Herb or Trey and Nas Reed, then I can kind of survey the board the rest of the way and grab some flyers. There are 2 teams that have a decent amount of money left, and those 2 teams, Reign of Terror and Pure Splash. And I bet you one of them is going to go after Herb Jones. Quick bid of $6 on Nas Reed. We'll see if we get him. He's an excellent fit in this build. Get him for 6. So now $12 for 5 players. This is actually a little bit out of my comfort zone. I don't normally have this small amount of money left, but I really like this team. All right, at this point, I'm just going to fast forward to the end and show you my... Okay, guys, we are nearing the end of the draft. East from the East still only has 10 players. I just need to take one more guy here. Doesn't really matter all that much. I'm probably going to drop him. I also drafted Chloe Ware, Buddy Hield, and Noah Clowney. So probably we'll end up dropping one or two of those guys too throughout the year. So this pick is kind of like a flyer. Tar Thompson is an interesting one. Donovan Clingan, also an interesting one. But I'm actually leaning toward seeing what Tari Eason looks like. Because if this dude gets minutes, he's going to be really awesome. All right, so here is the team. I think we can look at one team. No, we can't. Okay, so we'll scroll through it. We got Kawhi, J-Dub, and Chet. Donovan Mitchell, Jared Allen, DeRozan, Michael Porter Jr., Zubats and Naz Reid, Clay and Buddy for some threes, Clowney, Ware, and Eason for the upside. We will see what it looks like in the projections, but from what I'm seeing so far, this looks like we're going to be a pretty solid um, points and rebounds team, and then just really good blocks, field goal, free throw, and a low turnover team. That's not how a lot of people like to build their teams in head to head. People tend to punt turnovers. I punted assists instead and kind of punted steals in the process because those tend to go together. Although with Kawhi, Mitchell, and J-Dub, there's definitely some variance where some weeks I'll be able to win steals. All right, the draft is over. I can't imagine very many people watched to the end, but if you did, really appreciate it. And I'll see you guys soon.